library, but obviously there are not that many, so it is very limited in terms of access from borrowing from the library, but still is available. Some students ask me about the past or previous edition of this textbook, whether it is still usable or not. Unfortunately, I can't give any particular answer, confirm or reject, because I don't know the content of the previous edition. So this is your responsibility. If you want to use past edition, you need to check between these two editions, not missing any significant issue which we cover in this unit. The other source which we use in this unit is an accounting software. It's called Xero. Xero is a commercial software, but this company likely can provide you a 30 days free access. So I would suggest you to access to this software close to your assignment or 30 days before your assignment due for the assignment 3. And during that time, obviously, I myself release an announcement and give the details how you can access. So you don't worry about the timing when you should access to this software. I will provide you the details later on when we reach to that point. Anyway, the 30 days access is free, and you can use and play around and also do your assignment. We have unit guide. That is a very important document in this unit. That is a contract between you and the Deakin University in terms of your responsibility, in terms of your right, and these sort of things that link you with the Deakin University. Lecture slides. We do have lecture slides for all topics, 11 topics which we have in this unit. The lecture slide which we have includes, all lecture slides include some student tasks. That means the questions and practices which we do in class. So the version of the lecture slides which you do have access do not include the solutions to this student task. So when you attend the seminars, we go through these problems, questions, and cases, and we discuss and go through the solutions, and you can take note or whatever you think that is appropriate to do in regard to the solution. Or otherwise, you need to wait until the end of each week when we release a video record of the lecture. That is a recorded lecture already. That in this record, you also have the solutions through the slide, which is showing in this presentation, in these videos. You can find this solution. But we do not provide any separate document as include the solutions. You need to go through this material to find about the solutions. In addition to the lecture slide, we have a solution to some suggested end of chapter question. We do not suggest you go through the all end of chapter questions because some of them are not really good. Some of them even might make confusion for you. So what we did is that we selected some questions that are the best question in our view for this unit. So you are supposed to work on those questions, that is end of chapter question. In addition, we do have some extra practice for each topic, which we title as past/practice exam questions. These are the typical questions which might be a case or similar issue in the exam as well as the end of chapter questions, you can find in your exam. It's not necessarily all exam questions coming from these questions, but it is highly that you would see a similar question from this type of practices which we have in this unit. In addition to this material, we have the weekly online practice test quizzes. That is a quiz for every week, although unfortunately these tests have not been uploaded yet. I asked this from our IT division some time ago, but it seems that they are very busy and they haven't done yet. But I believe this should be up by today or tomorrow, because I sent a note again today to have this test. These tests are very useful to test yourself for understanding of each particular topic. In addition to the point that your first assessment task is a multiple choice test that have 5% of the total marks. And this type of practice prepare you for this particular task in this unit. Assessment instructions and relevant supporting resources are available under the assessment resources folder on Cloud Deacon. Shortly, I will go through this site and show you what material we have there, and you can use this material. Even you can start some of your tasks even from now, from today. Say, for example, for assessment task 2, which is an essay, you can start right now. Part of assessment task 2, which is reflecting report, you can start right now, and I would suggest you start and attempt this assessment task as soon as you can, because it helps to reduce your load later on in this trimester. All right, the other part of this introduction to the unit is assessment. Obviously, this is very important, and all of you are interested to know how you are assessed in this unit. We have 4 pieces of assessment. The first assessment task, as I mentioned earlier, is an online test, multiple choice question test. It takes 5% of the total marks. It's a test that takes 25 minutes, and you have 20 multiple choice questions. And you can do this test at any time during the 24 hours period available to you. So whether you do this at the beginning of these 24 hours, at the end of these 24 hours, in the middle, at home, at uni, or wherever you want, that is up to you, but it will be available, and it is due in week 5. The details is already in the instruction. You can find what time this will be available. That is in week 5. This Thursday, on Thursday, week 5 will be open at 3 o'clock and will be closed at 3 p.m. on Friday. So a 24 hours time which you can attempt this test. The test covers the first 4 topics. It is very useful. It is very helpful in terms of, obviously, 5% of the marks. And beside the marks, it is a test for yourself to have an assessment of how you go during these, say, 4 weeks. And have a gauge of your efforts have done so far by the time of this test. So it is very useful. It is not that hasn't that way in the overall assessment. It's just 5%, but it's very basic and very helpful for you. The second assessment task is an essay, 1,200 words essay. We do have a lot of material on this essay. This time is about integrating reporting. I provide you an example of the articles, journal articles, which you can start with. And there are some additional resources, library resources, how to write, how to find material for this assessment task, how to write, and this sort of instruction is given in this material on the cloud digging. I will go through shortly to show you how you can work on this assessment task. This is due at the end of week 7, the Sunday of week 7, midnight of week 7. So keep a record of this due date because it is important, otherwise you will miss out. The marks allocated to this assessment task is 15% of the overall mark in this unit. Then the third assessment task is a practical assessment task with a total mark of 20%. In this assessment task, you will receive a computer-generated case that you have to do some practical process of accounting, say, for example, doing general journal and this sort of things, and doing the same things with the zero as a computerized accounting software. So you practice both practical aspect of accounting with computer and manual aspect of accounting, which you do in a way of preparing general journal and so on. These two parts will carry 50% of this of the total marks. And the third mark of the assessment task 3 is a reflecting report. Again, for the reflecting report, we have an instructions how to approach this reflecting report, how to write it. We do have an example. And this report should not be more than 300 words. You do have an example, and you do have the rubrics for this particular task too. So you are clear about this task, how to do it. And you can start right now, as I mentioned, because we have already all information on the cloud. And the last assessment in this unit is an exam. The exam is a closed exam, and it takes 60% of the overall marks. Usually we go with 4 questions, and we do have some sub-questions, and I expect that we follow the same pattern for this trimester, although it's a bit too early to consider everything is finalized, but this is my intention to go with this exam. All right, so this is about assessment, and sorry, just missed to mention about the hurdle requirement of the exam, and the hurdle which we have is 50% of the exam marks. So exam mark is 60, and to pass this unit, you need, beside the overall 50% of the marks, you have to achieve at least 50% of the exam mark. So in exam, you should get at least 30% or 30 out of 60 marks for the exam. An exam is a closed book exam. And again, later on, in week 10 or earlier, I will release 2 past exam examples and some instruction, and by then you should be able to have a better preparation for the exam. Any question? Is that clear? All right. Okay, now further details. This is something that you can go later on your own time. In more details is about the unit. In this unit, we assume you have no accounting background, so we start from the scratch. So although some of you might have some experience in learning accounting in the past, but the assumption is that none of you have accounting background. So it makes life easier for those who have no accounting background, and more enjoyable for those who have some accounting background, because there are issues that does not make this unit hard for you then. This is a core unit. The core unit means that you have to successfully complete this unit if you want to get a membership of any accounting body in Australia. The accounting body in Australia are Chartered Accountants Australian and New Zealand, CPA and IPA. So if you're doing a Master of Professional Accounting or a Master of Commerce or any course with a major in accounting, you have to complete this unit successfully. So this is something that you need to take into account when you are doing this unit. What is the nature of this unit? Because for those who have no accounting background, they might think accounting is just figures, adding, deducting, dividing, multiply. But yes, this is part of job. This is the mechanical part of job, which we do with debit, credit, and so on. But we do have concepts. We do have theories behind these plus, minus, times, and division. So we need to understand why we do this process. That backs to the theoretical part of our unit. Some student I had and usually receive this question whether the unit is an easy unit or not. But it is totally up to you. But if you ask me that whether it's easy or not, I would say it's an easy unit, isn't it? All right. How you can make this unit easy? That is very simple. Put some effort from the beginning of the unit. We have some very clear logic in accounting that we use in our ordinary life in different ways. So just thinking about how we learn that 2 times 3 is 6. We practice, right? When we started the school, okay, learning about multiples, and we learn 2 times 3 is a practice. So by practicing now, times, if someone asks 2 times 3, do we need to think about what is the answer? No, of course not. Because by practice, that is automatically come into our mind that what is the answer. In accounting, this is particularly in the practical part, this is something that we need to learn about. By practicing, and then that would be obvious. It would not be a problem. It would be an obvious issue that we know about it. All right, now let's move on. We have 11 topics in 11 weeks as listed here. Later on, you can go through this list and find out how what are the details of these topics as I put in the following slides, and you can go through this later on your time. So let's finish this and go to the main business. Oh, sorry, just I forgot to, because I promised you to go have a quick journey on Cloud Deacon before we go to the first topic. All right, I opened this from a student review. Okay, what we have on Cloud Deacon, I'm sure that many of you are already visited this site, and you are familiar with the content and what are included in this site. But for those who are not familiar with this site, I just quickly go through the details and tell you what you should expect from this site. The first is home. This is the home. This is the first page, and it is very important that to have a regular visit of this check the news, because every time I make an announcement for various reasons, including the assignment, due date, and other issues, so it is necessary for you to visit this site and review the news at least a few times per week, at least, if not every day. And then we have resources. A lot of things are sitting here. Say, let's start with unit guide and information. The slide which we went through, that is the unit introduction. Later on you can go through if you want to review it again. And then we have unit guide. That's a document again, as I mentioned earlier. It is necessary for you to go through at least once to find out your right and your responsibility in this unit. Right and responsibility, that's a separate document. It's a very formal document to say what you should expect, what is your responsibility, and so on. This is a very common, it's not for just this unit. You can find in other units such a document. And then we have learning support services. You need to go through this document to find out what it's talking about. And then the other document, and let's go through the learning resources. I'm currently working on converting our old slides to new slides. So at the moment, 3 weeks is available to you, the material of 3 weeks available to you. And I hope that I could release the rest very soon. We do have some technical problem for some slide. I will fix it and release it very soon. What you can find in this HTML folder, if you click, you will find the details which we have here. This is the lecture slides. I explained earlier what are these slides. Then you do have the solutions to the end of chapter question. That is the selected questions, not all questions. Then past and practice exam question. That is the extra and additional cases and questions for practice. And then we do have a summary video. This summary videos usually goes around 10 to 15 minutes for different topics. And it is very helpful for you to have a listen and watch this video before attending the seminar, because it gives you a background that what we are talking about and make the progress easier for you to attend the seminar. So I suggest you, before coming and attending any seminar, go through this. It will be very helpful. Just say 10 to 15 minutes, something like that. All right. Now, the other things which we have in resources, just let me go through, because this is the other thing that is very important in regard to assessment. Assessment task 1, instruction. Go through this later on to find out what is this, say, task, which is an online test, when is due and how you can do it, and this sort of thing. And then for assessment task 2, that is the instruction, gives you the topic, the question, material, how you can follow this task, rubric for the assessment task, and additional information which you can find through the library resources. It's some videos which you can follow this for this particular task. And for assessment task 3, for part A, this is just very short, say, instruction. Later on, I will provide you a detailed instruction about how to do it. But for part B, almost everything is available, so you can start right now, as mentioned earlier. Instruction, rubric, and the sample of this task. All right, now, okay, discussion board. Discussion board should be used for any question which you have in regard to the technical aspect of the question. If there is any personal issue, please do not post your issue onto the discussion board. If you want to discuss about your result for assignment or for anything that you think that is personal, please don't post on the discussion board. But for any other question which is related to the technical issue of the unit, please try the discussion board, because your question might help other students with the same question. The teaching team tried to respond to you as fast as possible. Usually is within the 24 hours if it is not involved any weekend and so on. So we try to be very effective in terms of responding to your queries. Probably the last part is the assessment. For the assessment, submission of your second assessment task and third assessment task would be through this link. Is not set yet because it's not due yet. It will be set later on, and when you submit, you have the instruction how you submit your assignment. In regard to your grades for each assignment, you go through this link to find out your marks for each assignment. And quizzes, this include not only the weekly quizzes, which you can attend as many times as you like, but also the actual test of the assessment task 1 also can be accessed through this link. This is something that I mentioned earlier, and I will provide you with further information later on, close to the test time. All right, that was it for the introduction. Any question? Yeah? Okay, it was long enough to take a few minutes break, and then we continue with the first topic as called Introduction to Accounting. All right, guys, let's start our topic. As I mentioned, the break was supposed to be just a few minutes. Now it's already 5 minutes, so it's enough. Okay, now let's go through the job which we have for today. Topic 1, introduction to accounting. As usual, when we start a unit, a subject, we start with this sort of definition of the subject matter, and for us, this is accounting. So we start with the definition of accounting, and we go through some key accounting principles and assumptions that we are supposed to follow this principle and assumption when we prepare our accounting records and reports. We continue with the conceptual framework. What is the conceptual framework? In the conceptual framework is a theoretical base of our accounting standard and accounting practice. It says why we do accounting, the objective, what are the qualities of accounting information, what is, say, who are the users of accounting, who should report, or which entity should report a financial statement. And these are the things which are established or defined by the conceptual framework. And we continue this with introduction to financial statement. We go through three main financial statement: balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statement. These are the issues which we see later on in this session, and then in the later part of this unit, we go session, we go through accounting equation. That is the foundation for practical aspect of accounting. When we discuss about the equation which we have to have in accounting, in any accounting system, that is, say, asset is equal to liabilities and owner's equity. This is the foundation of accounting which we work on through in this unit. This is the list of objectives. Indeed, this is a checklist for you. After completion of this topic, doing the practices and reviewing all materials, you need to go through this slide and check yourself that whether you can seek these issues or not. So by ticking these issues, that means you have a complete knowledge of the topic, and you can move on to the following part and following topics. So it is important for you to make sure that what we have here on this list, you could check, you could find a satisfactory level of understanding of these issues which are listed on this slide. All right, now let's start with accounting. What is the definition of accounting? Anybody can have any definition of accounting here in this class? No? Okay. Now I start then for this one. Accounting is a process, is a system that identify, measure, record, and report this result to the users of this information. What transactions are or should be identified? That is economic transaction, accounting transactions. We buy, sell in the form of a business, we pay accounts, we receive accounts from our debtors, we pay for expenses, we pay for buying cars, motor vehicle, or whatever. And this is part of transaction which we deal almost every day through a business operation. So when we identify this transaction, buying, selling, paying, receiving, and so on, we need to measure the economic value of these transactions. Economic value of the transaction in most cases are very clear and very straightforward. So how much we paid for the purchase, that is in our invoice, purchase invoice. How much we received for the sales, that is clear in our sales invoice. So it's very clear. But sometimes later on you will realize that the measuring is not that straightforward as we can find in buying, selling, and paying accounts and so on. So that is part of the process. So identify which transaction happened, measure the impact, the economic impact of this transaction, then analyze the transaction and record in your books. Why we should analyze? Because the nature of transactions are different. One transaction is purchase of inventory. One transaction is purchase of motor vehicle. One transaction is paying to creditors. One transaction is paying for interest. One transaction is paying for your electricity bill. So there are different transactions. Therefore, we need to analyze this transaction and systematically record in our accounting books. All right, we completed this process of recording and everything is ready. So what? Why we do this? We do this for one purpose and only one purpose. Sorry, what's that?
To make decisions.
Excellent. For the users, communicate this information to the users, because there are some users that need this information. We need to communicate this information. Communication comes through the financial report, through the accounting statement, financial statement, which we mentioned earlier, income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement, and other reports which we will talk about this later on. The next things which we need to learn about at this stage, on a very basic level, is that to realize that we have two very broad area in accounting. One is financial accounting and the other one is management accounting. What is financial accounting? What is management accounting? When we're talking about financial accounting, that is the focus of operation, accounting operation, finance operation is on preparing financial reports that is prepared for external users. So indeed, our focus in this unit is in this section, the financial accounting, that is to preparing financial statement, to preparing reports for the external users. What we have here under the financial accounting is that we have very regulated reports, because we have to follow the accounting standard for preparation of financial statement. The reports are less frequent compared to managerial report or management accounting reports, but they are restricted, very restricted according to the accounting standards and other regulations, and less frequent in terms of these reports are prepared annually or 6 months or half a yearly or quarterly. That is the case. Whereas in management accounting, the focus of accounting is providing reports and information for internal users of the accounting information. Who are the internal users of accounting information? The management in the system. That is CEO, that is CFO, that is board of directors. Yeah, that would be considered as internal users of this account, of this information. So what is the difference between management accounting and financial accounting in terms of reporting? Mentioned that in financial accounting, we are very restricted. It's a less frequent report because it's prepared annually or 6 monthly or quarterly, whereas here in management accounting, we do not have that restriction. We do not have that regulation in preparation of financial statement. The format, the way which we prepare, the time which we prepare, all is depend to our needs within the organization. Preparing information that we use for the operation, for daily operation, day-to-day operation of the business. For example, weekly report of sales, weekly report of purchases, a daily report of cash, and all these things that are prepared within the organization for the usage by the managers for the operation is referred to as management accounting. And as I mentioned earlier, the unit focus here, this unit focuses on financial accounting. All right, who are the users of financial information? Because remember again the definition of accounting that was identifying, measuring, recording, and communicating. Communicating with whom? Someone should be there, and this communication should be with the users of this financial statement. Who are the users? We do have a range of users, but basically the users can be grouped in the categories which we provided on this slide. The first one are the investors. Investors can be individual investors or institutional investors. Investors can be you and me, or can be a company which the basic operation is investment in different companies, different assets, and different, say, business activities. So for investors, financial statement, financial accounting is a basic and fundamental source of information to make decision. To make decision about what? About whether they should invest or not. To make a decision about pricing of the investment. Whether we should sell our Commerce Bank shares today for $76 or no, we should stop it because of the issues which we see in the financial statement, predicting a better price in the future or lower price in the future. So that is something that the investor will take into account for their decision based on the information which they are provided in the financial statement. Banks and lenders, that is very clear why they are a major users of the financial statement, because they need to evaluate the borrowers, the creditworthy of their borrowers, and to determine that what should be, for example, the interest which they charge to their borrowers. Say, if you go and borrow from banks for purchasing a house, these days in the market probably the interest rate is about 4-5% at most, although it's less than 5% when we refer to as a mortgage. But if we go and want to borrow to buy a car, the interest rate suddenly will increase to 11, 12 or more. And when we make a cash draw by our credit card, this suddenly raised to 20% and more. So why is this? Because the banks, the lenders has an assessment of the risk based on the information which they receive from the financial position and financial performance of the borrower. So that is the cost of debt, to determine what should be charged to the borrower. Compliance with debt covenant. My company borrowed from Commonwealth Bank with this condition, that we lend you $1 million, but you are not supposed to borrow from any other bank. This is the covenant of my borrowing. So Commonwealth Bank perhaps will check my financial statement that whether I breached the covenant or not. How they can find it? Because they are supposed to see one loan in my financial statement. If there is any other loan in my financial statement in the balance sheet, then obviously this is a breach of the law. So this is the way which the banks and lenders can use